Labour, federal government, private sector to resume minimum wage negotiations Friday. President Tinubu to present 2024 supplementary budget to National Assembly. House of Representatives pass resolution to probe mass retrenchment of CBN workers. On the foreign scene, NATO meets as pressure grows to let Ukraine hit Russia. Good afternoon and welcome to the news update on Trust Television. I am Aisha Salihu. Now the news in detail. The tripartite committee meeting on the new minimum wage will reconvene on Friday as the federal government has extended an invitation to organize labor for the continuation of negotiations. The letter, which was signed by the secretary of the committee, Ekpo Nta, was sent to the presidents of the two labor centers, namely the Trade Union Congress and the Nigeria Labour Congress. The scheduled meeting will be the seventh in the series of meetings by the committee as members try to agree on what should be the new minimum wage. The last meeting on Tuesday was deadlocked as the organized labor rejected the 60,000 naira offer by the federal government. The labor representatives in the committee, however, adjusted their demands downward from the initial 497,000 naira minimum wage request to 494,000 naira. President Bola Tinubu will soon present the 2024 supplementary budget to the National Assembly. The president said this while speaking at the National Assembly on the occasion of his 1 year in office. In his response, Senate President Godswill Akpabio thanked the president and said they will be expecting the supplementary appropriation bill of 2024 as soon as possible. And now to the Green Chambers. The House of Representatives on Wednesday mandated its committees on banking institutions and federal character to probe the arbitrary retrenchment of about 600 staff by the Central Bank of Nigeria. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion of urgent national importance by member Jonathan Gaza Gwerfi. Gwerfi in his motion said the CBN, as part of its reforms, has been downsizing staff, among them directors. He said the arbitrary manner of the retrenchment without fair hearing and observance to lay down rules has been generating controversies. The lawmaker said terminating appointments of staff arbitrarily will dampen the morale and productivity of staff. He also said that the country cannot afford to throw away well-trained staff with capacities through arbitrary retrenchment by the Apex Bank. The motion was unanimously passed after a voice vote and referred to the committees on banking institutions and federal character to investigate and report back within 4 weeks. Still sticking with the Green Chambers, members of the House of Representatives on Wednesday spoke extensively on the successes recorded so far as Nigeria marks 25 years of unbroken democracy. The lawmakers took turns to reflect on the journey so far, with some applauding President Tinubu's successes and others deferring the report.
Hunger, insecurity, and education topped the discussions, with many alluding to the present economic hardship as something not so cheerful, while others looked beyond the last 1 year and affirmed that the past quarter of a century of non-stop democratic rule has all the trappings of a nation moving towards greater heights.
We need to ensure that our democracy strengthens us enough to punish impunity, corruption, and political rascality at whatever level it comes. We've been discussing how to strengthen local governance. This is a task that must be done, and we can only do it under a democratic system like we have.
We still have a long way to go. There are several things that we have left unfulfilled. There are several areas that we need to fill the gap. And I believe that as a house of the people, this is a period for us to sit back, reminiscence where we are coming from, where we are today, and where we ought to be.
Democracy has given us, even in the past, when we had issue in this country where, former President Yar'Adua died, we had this doctrine of necessity. That was democracy. Without democracy, there was no way such a thing could have happened. I think that for us as a country, we are grateful to God for giving us these 25 years of unbroken democracy.
On unbroken democracy that we are celebrating today, how has it translated to, unbroken food security? How has it transformed into unbroken security in the nation? How has it transformed into unbroken access to education, access to healthcare? And we're talking about celebration of democracy. The democracy is government of the people, for the people, by the people. And it should actually change the lives of our people.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives on Wednesday resolved to probe the recent sacking of over 600 staff members of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion on urgent public importance moved by the member representing Karu, Kefi, Kokona Federal Constituency of Nasarawa State, Jonathan Bekwi. Recall that the Apex Bank last week anchored its decision to lay off some of its staff members on the need to reposition the bank for effective operation. Addressing the House, Bekwi noted that the CBN, as part of an extensive reform, has been downsizing the workforce, which has affected close to 600 employees, including directors and nearly all staff members in the governor's directorate being terminated. According to him, the recent downsizing by the Apex Bank has raised significant concerns and controversies among stakeholders in the country, including the affected employees, labor unions, and members of the public.
Terminating appointments arbitrarily will amount to killing the morale of junior stars, not knowing what their own fates could be. Concerned that, considering the president's renewed hope agenda and the state of the economy right now, it will be extremely unprofessional to retrench over 600 families, especially where households rely on such persons for their daily livelihoods.
He lamented that those affected by the CBN's action are top-notch professionals whose skills may be lost to Europe and America, thus leaving Nigeria shortchanged.
2 weeks before his 3-month suspension was due to expire, Senator Abdul Ningi, who was at the center of the recent budget pardon controversy, has been recalled by the Senate. Nigerians have expressed mixed feelings about the action of the upper chamber, noting that it leaves much to be desired. Trasivi's Amarachi Amushi has more.
On March 12th, Senator Abdul Ningi was suspended for accusing its leadership of fraudulently smuggling projects into the 2024 budget. This claim sparked outrage from Nigerians who demanded more details on the accusation made by Senator Abdul Ningi, only for the suspension to be lifted 2 months later without concluding the investigation.
And yes, he has been called back, but I mean there are certain issues that are still left unresolved. The basic question is whether or not the budget pardon happened, and why is there no conclusive investigation to whatever scenarios that led to a suspension really? How have we settled those processes before recalling him back?
A resident of FCT emphasized the significance of the action, stating that it will serve as a warning to anyone planning to accuse the government without proof.
It has affected him. He has to, resign his position as a leader of the Northern Senator and what have you. Then if he's being called back, it's a good thing. At least lessons have been learned. That's my take on this.
Some have emphasized greatly on the rights of Nigerians to demand transparency and accountability, which have become sacrosanct in the governance process.
How has it been resolved, really? How has it been resolved? We need to deal with the issues before we even understand whether or not due process was followed. So it smacks really of the issue of accountability, and I don't think I am really impressed by the way it has gone.
Another respondent says the suspension was a wrong move and demands that government review the claims and make public the findings.
Said it should be suspended. That was wrong. Constitutionally, I think it's wrong. Because there's nowhere in the Constitution that you speak your mind or you're in the same place, same power, same authority, and then you'll be suspended. So Abdul Ningi's suspension to me is illegal and is a fraud to democracy.
Even though Nigerians welcome the recall of Senator Ningi, some believes there are still unanswered questions around the scandal that led to his suspension. Amarachi Amoshi, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And now to the south-south region of the country. Residents of Asaba in Delta State have been reacting to the reversion to the old national anthem, Nigeria We Hail Thee, following the signing into law the bill passed by the National Assembly by President Bola Tinubu. They say the anthem was instrumental in fostering Nigeria's national identity and unity during the 1960s and late 1970s, hoping that the new anthem will unite Nigerians more this time.
Other national item, as soon as they brought that, the country divided. No more unity. But this one gave us unity. We were seeing ourselves as brothers and sisters. We didn't know whether this one is from the north, this one is from the south, this one is from the east, this one is from the west before. But as soon as that national item came, everybody started looking for one way or the other. But thank God that has given the wisdom to this new administration, our president, Tinubu, that has done it for us. I say kudos to him. He has done well.
So I'm not going to remember them again. So, but when I listen to it, just I remember when I was in primary school, growing up from my mother's aunt taking me to school. I remember this national anthem. It's wonderful. I think I prefer it.
For those of us who went to school in the 70s and maybe 70s, it's fantastic because the new this newly introduced national anthem have more meaning, have challenging impression, has that hunger, unity, patriotism, nationalism imbued in it. It is not just a set of chorus music. It calls for the Nigerian to remember that we come from a place, and though tribe and tongue may differ, but in brotherhood we stand.
We have to go and learn how to sing it, so that we can be perfect and we can we'll be singing it in our schools.
Show you a video of a headmaster today in Ogbere, Ogun State, teaching his children the new national anthem, Nigeria We Hail Thee.
The national anthem after the count of 2. 1, 2. Nigeria, we hail thee, our own native land.
Nigeria's former president Olusegun Obasanjo has officially commissioned the Jimeta Grade Interchange named Adamowa Unity Bridge. Obasanjo, who commended Governor Fantiri's infrastructure drive, urged the governor to also give attention to rural infrastructure and security. Gibson Swadigo has details of the story.
The newly constructed Great Interchange is situated in the heart of Yola, the capital of Adamawa State. The project, which started on 30th August 2020, has about 5 features, including an underground pass, an overpass, CCTV cameras, and roads connecting multiple streets to ease intrastate transport. Governor Manuel Fintri, in a remark, vowed to sustain his infrastructure development efforts until all urban and semi-urban centers wear a befitting look, not only for aesthetics, but for the comfort and convenience of the populace and investors. He added that away from the state capital, the state government has carefully selected several semi-urban centers for infrastructural facelift.
This is a project with a short but interesting story. Like most of our projects, when we did the groundbreaking ceremony, Skeptics went wild with their usual doubts. It cannot be done. Someone had the guts to tell me that I was digging a hole or a pit at the center of the city without the knowledge of how I'm going to fill it. To the glory of God, today it is not only done, but done excellently and on record time. Projects of this nature are landmark signatures for every city, for urban planning purpose and municipal identification. They are conventionally named in line with this tradition and in keeping fair with what it represents and symbolizes in the city and Adamawa State. I hereby named the overhead bridge and great interchange with underpass as Adamawa Unity Bridge.
Performing the flag of former President Olusegun Obasanjo lauded the developmental projects executed by Governor Fintri for the past 5 years, noting that such efforts will better engender development in other sectors of the state's economy.
After urban renewal and urban development, which had to be a continual effort, we must not forget rural development and particularly the issue of insecurity, which are driven many of our people from the rural area to the urban area. Governor, we have to do our utmost best to ensure security so that our people can go back to their, what I will call their area of their habitat, which is close to them and they know well. And then, of course, they go on to produce food and live their normal life.
Earlier, Governor Manuel Fintri had led the team that welcomed the former president at Yola International Airport. Gibson So Adugo, Trust TV News, Yola.
A gas explosion on Wednesday rocked the Tejo-Osho NTA 10 axis of Lagos State, sparking a fire that gutted over 300 wooden shanties in the area. The blaze also affected the nearby St. Heritage Children's School on Adedapo Street off Aralile Street in Surulere. Reports say residents and business owners in the area are counting their losses. An eyewitness appealed for urgent assistance, saying they need emergency response at Adedapo Street off Aralile Street in Surulere.
We need emergency response here. We need more. Icon TV reporting here at Adedapo Street off Aralile. We need emergency response here. I've been sending all this to all the platforms. We need.
Residents of Imo State have appealed to President Bola Tinubu to look into the current hike in price of foodstuff across the nation. The call is coming in the wake of the outcry by women, especially housewives and mothers in the state, who are lamenting the high cost of tomatoes and pepper in the state. Trustee Ajibade Praise tells us more.
Tomatoes, pepper and onions are essential cooking ingredients in homes across the country. Many homes depend on them for their daily meals, especially on Sundays when the option of rice and stew is very high. Sadly, the price of these items is now way beyond the reach of the average woman.
Met Tinubu as our president with his team of politicians. We are still waiting for you. I'm a tribalistic man. I rule over 7,000 indigents, both senior citizens, the poor of the poorest, the students, the youths. I put them together. We are having a serious hardship?
Really, I don't know what is the cause, but recently tomatoes has been very expensive. The last week we bought it 100 and something, and this week again it increased like 20,000 on top of it.
Before, we used to buy it highest 40,000, but now it's 130,000, 140,000. And if you buy it, you can hardly get the money. Talk less of them.
Eze Oliver Ohanwe called on the Tinubu-led federal government to prioritize policies that will aid food sufficiency for the betterment of the masses.
But you cannot spend such amount of money to renovate National Assembly, to buy vehicles for elected officers whom we voted for, and to do other things when the masses voted are dying of hunger and starvation. We are living on palliatives.
The women, on their part, believe that the federal government can salvage the situation with the political will needed to surmount daunting challenges.
The federal government is that they should look into this matter. The masses are suffering.
Like this little one I'm shading here now is 1,000. The other one is 2,000. Half pence is 5,000 last. There are people that cannot afford to buy it.
And they need to help us. We need help because as we are here now, this market now is where I'm having money. Both school fees are feeding my children. But now we can't see the capital, talk less of them. We are suffering too much.
With the current hardship, the quality of life in Nigeria is being affected negatively. Residents are, however, hopeful that government will look into the matter with a view to proffering solutions. Ajibade Praise, Trust TV News, Owerri.
NATO foreign ministers meet in Prague on Thursday in the face of growing calls for leading allies to lift restrictions stopping Kyiv from using Western weapons to strike inside Russia. The two-day gathering in the Czech capital is meant to focus on efforts to hammer out a package of support for Ukraine at NATO's summit in Washington in July. While the swirling debate over whether to let Kyiv use arms sent by Western backers to strike inside Russia risks overshadowing the meeting, Ukraine has been pressing its supporters, mostly United States, to allow it to use the longer-range weaponry they supply to hit targets inside Russia. The United States and Germany have so far refused to permit Kyiv to strike over the border out of fear that it could drag them closer to direct conflict with Moscow. Thousands of people are fleeing the southern city of Rafah in the Gaza Strip as Israel deepens its offensive in southern Gaza. Israel's military said Wednesday it had seized control of a strategic corridor that runs along the length of Gaza's border with Egypt. The move comes as Israel has deepened its incursion into the southern Gaza city of Rafah, where hundreds of thousands of people seeking shelter from fighting elsewhere had been displaced. Also, where intensifying violence in recent days has killed dozens of Palestinians. Over the past 3 weeks, Israel's offensive in Rafah has sent nearly 1 million Palestinians fleeing the southern Gaza city. And in sports, in preparation for the Paris 2024 Olympics, the Nigeria Wrestling Federation has commenced a training camp for wrestlers in Yenagoa, the Bayelsa state capital. The president, Nigeria Wrestling Federation, Daniel Igali, said the federation has the mandate to ensure that Nigerian wrestlers perform optimally in the wrestling event at the Paris 2024 Olympics. A total of 6 athletes, 5 females and 1 male, led by Tokyo 2020 silver medalist Blessing Oborodudu, will represent Nigeria in the wrestling event at the Paris 2024 Olympics. Still in sports, Super Eagles star striker Ademola Lookman has been named on the African team of the season, selected by French broadcaster Canal Plus Sports. Lookman had a fantastic 2023-2024 season, leading Atlanta to its first trophy in 61 years, winning the Europa League against the newly crowned German Bundesliga champion Bayern Leverkusen after netting a hat-trick in the final, while also ending his search for his first trophy at club level. The 26-year-old continued from where he stopped in the Europa League final with a goal as Atlanta thrashed Torino 3-0 at the Gawi Stadium on the final day of the Italian Serie A season. Despite Nigeria coming second in the 2023 African Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast, Lookman had a stellar performance on his AFCON debut after emerging as Eagles' top scorer at the tournament with 3 goals. Lookman did score a brace against the indomitable Lions of Cameroon in the round of 16 and winner in the quarterfinals game against Angola's Palancas Negros. And that concludes the news update at this hour on Trust Television. Do not forget, you can always follow us across all of our social media platforms and also join our YouTube live stream for more news, programs, and documentary. I'm Aisha Salihu. Thank you so much for watching. Join us again.